I'd like to open this council workshop tonight. The discussion is going to be a fact-finding Q&A for the town on the proposed access route to Katahdin Woods and Waters, the southern entrance. Where this is a council workshop, public comment is not taken during a council workshop, much like we do with the budget workshops. But it is, as I say, a council action. There will be no vote tonight of any type on anything, nor will there be a discussion of any type of vote tonight on anything during the workshop. So in saying that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Brian, because I understand you have a presentation. And then after the presentation, councilors will have an opportunity to ask questions and get information from whatever and wherever they choose. So Brian, when you're ready.
Sure, great. So I'm Brian Hinrichs. I'm with Friends of Katahdin Woods and Waters, and I'm actually going to pass it to Betsy Cook from Trust for Public Land, who joins me tonight first, and then we'll sort of go back and forth. We have a brief presentation, and then we can go into Q&A if that works.
That works very well. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, hold just 1 second. Councilor DeMay.
I just think it'd be important for the audience to know this is an unusual amount of audience, and those that are not there, there is a regular town council meeting after this with a public comment section at the end. So I do encourage everybody to stay. And if you do have some input that you would like to put, and I think the limit is 2 minutes per person.
2 minutes per person.
You're certainly encouraged to stay for the whole meeting and make your feelings known. That I just thought that was important to know.
Thank you very much, Councilor. Brian.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you all. I'm Betsy Cook. I'm the Maine State Director for Trust for Public Land, and we're a nonprofit organization. We work across Maine to strengthen communities through connecting people to the outdoors. And we've worked in the Katahdin region in the past in a few different ways. First, through the Katahdin Lake addition to Baxter State Park back in 2006, and then the Millinocket Forest Project, which is now owned by State of Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands as a working forest in 2011. So really grateful to be here with you all. You might recognize my face from conversations around a community forest project that we're also hoping to work with the town of Millinocket on. But today's focus, as you all mentioned, is the southern access to Katahdin Woods and Waters.
Thanks, Betsy. My name is Brian Hinrichs. I'm the Executive Director of Friends of Katahdin Woods and Waters. We are the philanthropic and education partner to the National Park Service at Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument. So since April, we have heard a variety of community conversations about S4209, the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument Access Act. We appreciate this time with council tonight to provide clarifications and answer questions as best we can. As you see on the screen, the Access Act has 3 primary goals. First is to lay the foundation to create southern access to the monument. The second is to provide guaranteed access for the public on roads that currently don't have guaranteed access. The third is to solidify Millinocket's desired role as a launching point for outdoor recreation, which will bring enhanced economic benefits to the town. Something I want to start with here is just to emphasize that our support for and interest in the Access Act does not emerge from a vacuum. Since 2016, it has been clear that Millinocket did not have a logical entry point to the monument and was therefore missing out on potential economic benefits. Various town and regional plans over the years have called for addressing this issue, which the Access Act seeks to do. The Katahdin Gazetteer emerged in May 2019 from a robust community process in Millinocket and throughout the Katahdin region. It states in Action 2.4 that one of the community goals is to secure public access to the monument from the south. The Katahdin Region Recreational Investment Strategy was led by the Outdoor Sport Institute and Northern Forest Center and states that creating a direct link between the National Monument and population centers in the southern part of the region has long been recognized as critical to securing increased economic benefits from the growing number of people visiting the monument. This sentiment is also echoed in the 2020 Tri-Town Area Katahdin Region Comprehensive Plan, which we understand serves in part as the town of Millinocket's comprehensive plan. It points to the national monument as a source of state and national attention. It references the gazetteer goal, and it calls for further investment into existing recreational assets, of which we consider the monument a big piece of the puzzle. We highlight these documents to remind council and the community that this Access Act stems from what we have been hearing and seeing in various planning processes from the region over the past 5 years. I'll now pass the mic to Betsy to give us more background on the legislation and how it has evolved, and to provide some details on critical issues like road maintenance and access that have come up.
Great, thanks, Brian. So I wanted to give a little bit of background since 2022, and as you heard from Brian, TPL was aware of the planning efforts that have been done regionally and at the town level, pointing to a desire for Southern access. And so as a result of that, we as an organization got involved in a bigger way in 2022. One of the first steps was to create and work with Senator Collins to introduce an Access Act in August of 2022, which is similar but different in some ways to the one that you have in front of you right now. And in early December of 2022, the Millinocket Town Council voted 6-1 to send that support letter for that Access Act. And then in December of 2022, Trust for Public Land, my organization, purchased land that would be critical for providing this key Southern access. So these two things are kind of happening in parallel in 2022, the initial introduction of the Access Act, Town of Millinocket support, and Trust for Public Land purchasing the land that would be really key to eventually creating that Southern access. And at that time in 2022, we heard really helpful community feedback around some items that resulted in pausing the federal process for passing that Access Act. The first one that was really critical was a concern that the act would impact motorized and non-motorized use on the Katahdin Region multi-use trail. And to address that, Trust for Public Land was grateful to be able to work with John Raymond and motorized recreation clubs to convey a public trail easement on the Katahdin Region multi-use trail that is now held by the State of Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands, ensuring that there will always be motorized and non-motorized public access on that trail, even if the Park Service does acquire an interest in the Southern access roadways. We also are really proud that that was able to lay the foundation for a much needed bridge to progress and for that trail to eventually open in earnest. The second change from 2022 was to significantly reduce the amount of land that would be impacted and to just focus on the Southern access roadways, which you'll see as we dig into a map. And then the third piece that Trust for Public Land worked on was ensuring that there would be compatibility with the continued use of these roadways for logging and forest management traffic, knowing the importance of that industry in the region, which we did through work with the Maine Professional Loggers Association and ensuring affirmative language was included in the act to make sure that that logging and forest management traffic would not be impacted. So with these items resolved, Senator King reintroduced the Access Act in April of 2024, so just a few months ago. And I'd like to highlight a few of the key details in the act itself, which you have a draft in front of you. The key element here is that this Access Act would give owners of designated roadways, which include Trust for Public Land and Acadian Timber, the opportunity, but not the obligation, to sell a property interest in these roads to the National Park Service. So the roads that the act covers are owned by, some of them are owned by Acadian Timber, some of them are owned by Trust for Public Land. If the Access Act passed, it wouldn't do anything automatically. It would purely allow for those landowners, Trust for Public Land and Acadian Timber, to enter into conversations with the Park Service and to ultimately enter into a agreement with the Park Service for the Park Service to either hold a public access right of way on the roads or to own the roads themselves. And I'm happy to dig into more detail because that's a bit of a stepwise process there. And that creates really a willing seller, willing buyer situation. So the willing sellers would be Trust for Public Land and Acadian Timber, and the willing buyer would be the National Park Service to acquire, again, either right of way or the roads themselves.
Okay.
I'll pause there in case there's any questions.
Well, for myself personally, and I know it's popped up for other people, the thought, beginning wise of this discussion, was that the Stacyville Road and the right of way that would be the southern access was all going to be, the roadway was going to be purchased land. Land that was going to be bought. My understanding now, if I'm reading this right, is it is going to be they're going to purchase an easement so that the Park Service and the Cotton Woods and Waters has an easement on that road, not necessarily ownership.
So the Access Act would allow for either path. So that if the Access Act passed, it would allow for the Park Service to buy either an easement, public access easement, or the roads outright. And that would be a decision that the private landowner, Acadian Timber, or Trust for Public Land would make with the National Park Service. So it could be either. And that decision hasn't been made yet, nor would it be made until this Access Act is passed. And that's partially because the Park Service can't engage in robust real estate negotiations until they have the authority to do so, which is what this Access Act provides.
Okay,
That
thank
makes
you.
sense. So it could, at this point, could it still be either a public access right of way or outright ownership of the roads by the Park Service.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay,
Go ahead,
so,
Becky.
and feel free to interrupt with any questions.
Oh, I will.
Great. So this map shows the land that would be impacted by the Access Act. So the properties that would be impacted are the southern section of Stacyville Road, which again is currently privately owned by Acadian Timber. This section of Huber Road, which is currently privately owned by Acadian Timber. This section of Huber Road, which is currently privately owned by Trust for Public Land. The Roberts Road, which is currently privately owned by Trust for Public Land. Pellock Mountain Road, and then this northern section of Stacyville Road, which are also currently privately owned by Trust for Public Land. So I also want to point out these two northern pieces right here, which total about 1,000 acres, currently owned by Trust for Public Land. And this Access Act would also give TPL the authority to sell those two northern parcels to the Park Service if we choose. So pointing out a lot of which I'm sure you all are much more familiar with these roads than I am, but there's currently no guaranteed public access on these roads. Any access that the public benefits from is solely due to landowner permission. So right now it's Acadian Timber and Trust for Public Land allowing people to use those roads. That access could be shut down. So one of the benefits that we see of this Access Act is the path to guaranteeing legal public access on these roadways, not just for access into the monument, but for access for residents to continue to use, to get around the region, to get to locations that they use and love for hunting and fishing and outdoor recreation opportunities. So that's an important piece that I wanted to call out with respect to the current condition, and then what would ultimately occur here is that we would go from no guaranteed public access to guaranteed public access on these roads. Yep.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two questions. So the original bill had more land acquisition included. That got dialed back to the current state that it's being presented as now. And there'll be no future interest in going after more land after this? Am I understanding you correctly? I mean, putting it point blank. This is what we're looking for. We're not looking for anything else in the future.
From Trust for Public Lands perspective, yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
I understand that. And this will not affect any camp owners or any access. I understand that you said it to the public, but those situations will change with any kind of camp ownership or any deeds or right of ways or anything that already exists. Is that
Yes.
what you're also saying?
Exactly. Great question. So the people that do have legal access on these roads include camp owners who have an agreement with Acadian Timber to use and manage and maintain the roads. And then also abutting forest landowners have rights to use these roads for timber management and forest harvest or timber harvest and forest management. And none of those will be impacted. So all of those agreements, because they're on the land right now, they take precedent and they will stay in place, even if the Park Service owns the road or owns a right of way.
It will be on the deed. It will be recorded and on the deed.
It's because those deeds are already recorded, and they take priority over any subsequent deeds. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I also, while we're on the topic of camp access, I know it's been a really good question that's come up through camp owners. There will be no increased maintenance or management costs for people that have a property interest in those roads, whether it be camp owners or abutting forest landowners. And that's laid out in the agreement between camp owners and Acadian Timber. It says any use by a third party does not result in an obligation for the camp owners to do maintenance or management.
While we're on the topic of roads though, could you
Yeah.
please address the fact of how these roads the maintenance of these roads and who is going to be responsible for maintaining them and who is going to do the expense? Because there's been some talk that it could come back to the town as one way, shape or form, even though this is not in the town of Millinocket. Could you please address those topics for me, please?
Absolutely. So currently the town of Millinocket does not have any property interest or obligation for maintenance or management in these roads. That will not change. The town of Millinocket will not have any property interest or obligation for management or maintenance of these orange roads into the future. If this Access Act passed and if the Park Service obtains a right of way or owns the road, then the maintenance and management responsibilities will be shared by anybody that has a property interest in the road. And so most likely in this case, that will include the National Park Service, the private landowner that owns the land, if Acadian Timber continues to own the road, and then camp owners that have a property interest will have the opportunity to do maintenance and management for their own benefit to get to their camps.
Okay, before we go any further, I see Councilor Higgins has his hand up. Councilor Higgins, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I understand that about the Huber Road, Stacyville Road, but access would be coming through Millinocket, Penobscot Ave, Central Street, across Penobscot Ave, Bates Street. So who would help maintain those roadways?
Yeah.
Those roads are a state highway, Councilor Higgins, and they fall under the purview of the Department of Transportation, the Maine DOT, to maintain and make sure that those roads are safe. Unlike other places that may have roads within their community that the town is responsible for, that corridor is a state road, and it is the responsibility of the Maine DOT to maintain and make sure that that road is safe.
On that though, don't we do some of the maintenance on that on those sections of road?
We receive $44,000 and change from the state per year for road maintenance to be used pretty much at our discretion, isn't it, Mr. Manager?
Yeah, there's a specific list of things, types of projects, capital improvements, that we can spend that money on. It comes from the program called LRAP, Local Roads Assistance Program. you know, it's actually up a little over 50,000 at this point. But the town does have an obligation to provide, like the line striping, painting services. We do go through, we, fill potholes, that sort of thing. They do, the Maine Department of Transportation does maintain the bridges on that route. And they foot the bill for the actual extensive paving that happens, periodically. But we are required through our partnership to, do light maintenance along there. And we do pay for that, but you know, we also do receive that additional financial assistance from the state through the LRAP program to offset the costs for some, if not all of that.
Thank you.
But with this increased traffic, that would potentially be a greater impact, thus more work, correct? As Patton did receive as well.
Well, I don't know as if, I haven't seen for myself, the road conditions in Patton lately. I believe that a lot of the area in discussion is dirt road. I could be wrong. I imagine there could potentially be more impact, in the form of potholes and, you know, crack type maintenance. The line painting and striping is something that's done once annually, regardless of the condition, but it's certainly necessary each year anyways, with the way the paint fades from, you know, the winter and the plowing and the salt, damage to the roads. You know, so we could see, we could see an increase in need for, you know, cold patch and pothole maintenance, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I
Thank
was
you.
just, because Patton came up, I would just share that we're aware of the town of Patton CDS application regarding town roads that lead to monument access for the Saboas parcel. And Councilor Madore, you did clarify one of our points about that. These are primarily roads in Millinocket that would be managed. The bulk of the maintenance costs would be the state. While the National Park Service and Friends have publicly supported Town of Patton's efforts to receive funding and still want to work with the Town of Patton on that road maintenance request, we've also been trying to clarify some misunderstandings and inaccuracies about visitor use on those roads. So the town roads that have been identified, there has been a number that's circulating that's incorrect. It's about 4,000 visitors to that parcel in total, but that are actually traveling on those town roads. The busiest season that we saw on the town roads to get to that parcel were 906 vehicles. So the primarily vehicles are accessing that parcel just outside of Patton, the Saboas parcel, on Route 11 to Grand Lake Road, 159, and Grandin Road, not town roads. So that's something that is worth clarifying. I'd also mention, I think Betsy, you were going to mention this as well, just putting on the Department of the Interior, the NPS cap here for a moment, that payments in lieu of taxes are payments that are made to help local governments offset costs like this. The DOI does make an annual PILT that is based on the acreage of the monument that is meant to help out with vital services such as firefighting and police protection, construction of schools and roads, and search and rescue operations. In 2023, Penobscot County received a payment in lieu of taxes from the Department of the Interior for $275,000 based on the acreage of the monument. And in 2024, that payment increased to $293,153. Since 2018, the total PILT from the Department of the Interior to Penobscot County based on monument acreage has been $2.3 million. So I think just collectively highlighting that these are primarily state managed roads that would connect to Stacyville Road. And it's really the same story in patent and also highlighting that there is this PILT payment to the county that is made to offset certain costs to communities that are impacted by serving as gateway communities.
And I would like to just, if I could, point to the fact that I have never heard any question of road maintenance with the 70,000 people that visit Baxter State Park annually using the same corridor. So the fact that there's going to be an increase of even 1,000, which I doubt really seriously for my lifetime, but even if there's 100 cars that come through, that's 100 cars more than the 70,000 people in the cars that are visiting Baxter State Park annually using the same corridor. So I will just throw that out there as something. Councilor Dumeay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The town back in the 80s, 70s, and maybe 60s, yes, somebody out there might remember this better than me, but town of Millinocket at one point was 8,000, 8,500 people around that ballpark. And we had a lot more logging trucks. So the roads, although important, and certainly we can take any kind of assistance that we can, I think our roads are designed more in Millinocket to withstand the traffic rather than other communities. Not that we won't have our own unintended municipal impacts that I'd like to address later on, but I think the roads can probably handle the traffic if it's 20, 30% more, if that's what the increase is going to be. I had a brief conversation on my way here actually with Commissioner Marshall, Tom Scott County Commissioner, and I asked him that question directly because I would be paying until just recently, past week when we all met, and so I came right out and asked him bluntly. I said, "Is this an actual thing? Do you guys receive money?" So I'm interested in a deeper conversation with him about that. He wasn't able to be here tonight. He would have liked to have been here to address some of the questions as well. We kind of get both sides of it while we're having that discussion. So if there's monies out there, certainly to help with payment in lieu of taxes, that would be great if we can access some of those funds. So thank you for bringing it up.
I lost
Mr.
Councilor.
Chairman, he had disconnected and reconnected, so I imagine he's
Councilor Higgins, are you still
coming
there?
on.
Back.
There he is.
I back, okay. You had a question?
Yeah, but I'll pass for right now.
Okay. Please continue.
Great,
And
thank you.
I'm sorry, Counselor Higgins, just remember to turn that camera on, please. Go ahead.
Great.
better?
There you go.
Thank you.
Looking handsome.
Perfect. I did just want to zoom in on the Katahdin Region Multi-Use Trail, which is shown here in black. Trust for Public Lands ownership is shown in purple, and the orange roads again are the section that's covered by the Access Act. So this area here that the Katahdin Region Multi-Use Trail crosses the Huber Road, this was one of the key pieces that we're really proud that we were able to convey a public access motorized and non-motorized trail easement to ensure that even if the Park Service owns those roads or owns a right of way on those roads, that motorized trail access will be guaranteed forever. And we have covered a lot of this in the questions that we just discussed, but just to highlight a few items here, the roads are currently private roads and there's no guaranteed public access. So this would create the pathway to have that guaranteed public access. The Act and National Park Service acquisition of property interests, again, will guarantee public access for everybody, not just visitors to the monument. And all existing agreements and rights along the roads, especially highlighting camp owner access, will stay in place. And then similar, we spoke about road maintenance. So because the southern access would cross state roads directly onto private or eventually Park Service interest roads, there will likely be no increased obligation to the town of Millinocket, though you all know and discuss much better than I do what those arrangements are with the state. As we discussed, camp owners will not have any increased maintenance obligations due to increased traffic on the Stacyville Road. And just to give you a sense of the Park Service's spending, currently they spend an average of $250,000 to $300,000 annually on road maintenance for roads in the monument or roads where they have a right of way that they hold. And so it's likely that if the Park Service has a property interest on the orange roads, that they will be bringing additional funding to help with that maintenance and management, which again benefits visitors to the monument, but also benefits residents that are using those roads for other purposes.
I would definitely say after having traveled the roads to get into the monument recently, that an increase in funding to maintain those roads would be greatly appreciated. They are, to be kind, rough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a key point here, that in order to open up that coffer of funding from the Park Service, this Access Act is the pathway to be able to bring additional funding in.
Yeah, and I would just mention that Swiftbrook Road, for those who travel Swiftbrook Road, it is being graded. I think that grading started today. I believe Emery Lee is doing that grading, and it'll be a little bit smoother over the next few weeks, barring any major washouts. But road maintenance is a challenge. NPS has an incredible maintenance team that has their eye on it. As Betsy said, there are funding pots within NPS. Friends of Katahdin Woods and Waters has also lended private philanthropic support to road maintenance to make sure that we're allowing vehicles to travel smoothly into these locations.
Councilor Devane?
Thank you. I just have a kind of a dumb question, but you know, that's half my name, so. The National Park Service website actually has information on it where they operate on a negative balance. So where do they find these monies? Come up with to help sponsor and fund these new projects when they're already operating at a deficit? And I don't know if you're prepared to answer that question. I know that neither one of you are part of the National Park Service, but I mean, it would just seem like if there's no money in the account, how do you spend money?
So this bill has been reviewed by the National Park Service, and they are weighing those considerations before they lend their support to a bill like that. And so they have gone through that process. I don't work for the Park Service, so I can't say that. Yes, the maintenance backlog has gotten a lot of national attention, and it is real. I would again just say that the work of Friends, we have been trying to supplement that, at least at the local level, and that's what you see right now with some of the road work where Friends has played a role, and that happens at other parks as well, where Friends groups can help offset that balance. Certainly, I know folks are really working hard for the next round of appropriations and next National Park Service budgets to continue, and acts like the Great American Outdoors Act, continuing to work to chip away at those maintenance challenges.
That was my impression, but I didn't want to assume that.
Yep.
From our conversation the other day. And you had expressed to me, and I don't know if you want to repeat this, but you were saying that the Friends, the Katahdin Woods and Waters Monument is more robust than other national monuments, parks.
I
in
think
the
that
US.
I think Friends of Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument emerged from a philanthropic relationship, and we've been really lucky to grow our philanthropic partners with a whole range of funders, from citizens of Millinocket to folks who are excited about another national monument being added to the National Park Service. So yes, as a young Friends group, we are proud of the work we've been able to do. And we have been really investing in what we're calling park priority projects. These are the list of projects that the Park Service wants to do to sort of make that visitor experience, take it to the next level, also protect the resource, make sure this is a generational resource and it's protected for the future. So we've been helping to fundraise for those projects.
Counselor Higgins.
Yeah, make sure I'm unmuted. How many miles of road are you actually looking at, of gravel road?
What a question I should know the answer to.
In the addition,
In the addition, yeah, that's the question. I think we're 14 to or 17.
I was gonna say it's about 15 miles, but
Okay,
I
15.
that needs to be fact checked. It's
Yeah.
in that range of 15 miles, yeah.
And that's Stacyville, Huber, Roberts, Killock Mountain, and
Yeah.
that's only 15 miles.
It could be a little bit more. I would have to look that up. I don't know that answer off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
And just for, before we go any further, because it's been mentioned a couple of times here, just for transparency's sake, I would like to just let everyone know that Counselor McLaughlin, Counselor Demay, and myself went to the monument, to the visitor center. And that's why we have experience on the roads to do a little investigating of our own and hopefully try to go ahead and get it, you know, as much of a full rounded perspective as we could. So just to let people know that the three of us traveled up there to see what was going on and see the work that was being done on the visitor center. And I'll leave it at that and
Mr.
go back.
Chair,
Yes,
I
sir.
think it's also important to acknowledge that that invitation was extended to all counselors
Mhm.
According to their availability, not, of course, all at the same time. Under quorum,
Right.
you know what I mean? Less than four, to meet the standards, but that was per counselor availability and desire to do so.
Absolutely. So please,
Perfect. Am I still sharing, by the way? I'm not.
I don't, if you
Okay.
are, you're sharing with a lot of people.
I am no longer connected here. All right, let me try to do that while I say one last thing and then I'll hand it to Brian. So I think this is known as well, but currently the official access into the monument is through the north. And so even if visitors are getting off on the Medway exit, they're immediately directed up Route 11. So they're just completely missing Millinocket and East Millinocket. This Access Act and potential southern access would bring visitors through the town of Millinocket, right past Main Street and then up the Stacyville Road. So I think that's obvious to everybody, but I just wanted to clarify what the current route is, which is basically getting off Medway and going right up Route 11.
There has been a concern voiced at our last meeting about worrying about a strain on Millinocket's ambulance and fire assets to service the monument area, even though we are contracted with both Penobscot and Piscataquis County to provide fire and ambulance service. Could you address that? Because that is a concern, and what you think that may do as far as an impact to the town. And then I would like to go ahead and, if I could later on, ask Chief Cody to address the same question.
Oh, yeah, I can take a stab at that. We know that this year the Patton ambulance responded to a snowmobile accident, but could not verify if it occurred within the monument. On average, and this is from what we could track down and what the NPS office has heard, incidents that involve the main warden service or Patton ambulance have averaged 1 to 2 responses a year. So the impact on that front, you know, God willing, is low, and that there isn't a huge increase in emergency services needing to be called. In particular, as Millinocket works with the county on those services, that is where, again, I can't speak for that PILT and what the decisions are at the county, what the mechanisms are for Millinocket or Patton to benefit from that, for that matter. But as you're contracting with the county, I do highlight that is generally the intent of HILT is to help offset with those services.
Chief Cody, if, it- can, I know I'm kind of putting you out on the spot here, but can you give us your thoughts on the, what you see of any impact or effects that having an access road going through Millinocket could have on our fire and ambulance, more so than we already do?
I'm John Cody, I'm the fire chief, emergency management director for the town of Millinocket. So I think some of my concerns is with this is going to be, we're going to see a slight increase of call volume, I feel. Think, we're going to see a huge amount, but some of my concerns is our apparatus, our fire apparatus, for those road conditions is a concern. We don't have the apparatus to respond out there with more than one apparatus that we currently have right now that I would feel safe sending a crew down that road. We don't have the 4-wheel drive capability on the fire department side. EMS side, absolutely, but the concern is if we're going to expand equipment as well, we don't have the fire station, the house, the equipment that we need to expand further. One of the things we also have to think about is if we do respond out of town, we have to backfill our fire station, which brings in their 2 people. So we've seen an increase between the contracts that we have right now for Penobscot and Pecatoguas County. I did some numbers this afternoon. We've had 30 calls out of town already this year. In those 2 contracts. So.
And those are above and beyond what would be. Okay, Councilor Demay.
Thank you, and thank you, Chief Cody. This was probably, if I had a priority list, a bucket list of negative impacts to the town of Millinocket, kind of like some of the concerns for the road conditions that other councilors had, this would be one of my biggest that I've brought to bear, would be the unintended burden of the town municipal side for fire and EMS, and even concerning our police contract. We don't have our own police department. We are contracted through East Millinocket. So once again, if you add 20-30% increase of traffic volume, it's going to have some consequences. Hopefully not, but it may. I mean, you have out of staters driving around here that do not know how to drive in Maine in the conditions that we have up here. So, I'm not trying to discourage them from coming. Certainly tourism is a piece of the pie that we certainly need, but not on the backs of the local taxpayer. Those are the concerns that I would have, and I had conversations with Chief Cody, and he expressed the same concerns. We have aging equipment that we're going to need to address very soon. Some of them are near to out of commission, and so I know he loses sleep at night. He expressed it to me. It's one of my major concerns is if we have a situation where we cannot cover our citizens because we're responding to a situation that we already have an impact of and an obligation to respond to these counties. And I did speak to the commissioner about that briefly today too. So hopefully some of these infrastructural things can be addressed if this does pass through. That way it doesn't impact the taxpayer for the benefit of the commercial tourism aspect of this. Because I don't think that's fair to expect grandma down the road that's living on a fixed income to share the burden of the expenses. But it's my own personal feeling. Hopefully we can address some of those things. I know that National Park Service has expressed, or the Friends have expressed, that there's just no mechanism to fund those things. You just can't give the town of Millinocket $1 million, here, go buy a new fire truck, or here's some money to go buy a new fire station, or here's new equipment, or hire 2 more people. It just doesn't work like that. So somebody somewhere needs to get creative, and if we're going to support this, then we need to think of those avenues to help fund them. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to, I mean, I think the one pot of money that exists right now that we brought up is that payment in lieu of taxes. I understand that goes to the county and it would be a conversation between the town and county to access that funding. But those are meant to cover any increased municipal costs as a result of a federal unit of land like the monument. The other piece, which I'm really grateful that you brought up, Chief, is around the current quality of the roads and your ability or not for your equipment to cross those roads. I can't necessarily speak to this, but I would imagine that the National Park Service is not going to be directing traffic on those roads until they are brought up to a higher quality. So even if there is a legal interest that the Park Service holds on them, I would imagine that it would be in everyone's interest to make sure that the public is not being directed on roads that aren't up to snuff for actually being able to absorb both passenger vehicle traffic and hopefully ultimately essential emergency service vehicles.
Mr. Manager, do you have something?
I just wanted to call your attention to Counselor Higgins' hand.
Counselor Higgins.
Yes, thank you. No, I was going to talk about that PILT again. Thank you for providing that information. And I understand it was 2.3 million since 2018. And in 2024, it was just a little over 293,000. That went to the county, not specifically to, I can't specifically say it went to Midway or to Patton, but it was probably divvied up. But that's on the county seat. But that would, us getting factored into that would probably just break it out and make that money divide down a little bit more, correct?
So I can speak to that a little bit. I dealt with that fund a little bit when I worked with Eastern Maine Development Corporation. It is a program that we can submit an application to for a project to be funded. They don't necessarily or automatically split it to communities. It's meant to provide resources that help better support the unorganized territories. So it would be more of an application process that a board reviews, and then the commissioners would be voting on whether or not to award it, similar to a lot of grant programs.
Thank you.
My understanding too is it's also based on total acreage of the Park Service interest. So if the Park Service had interest on these roads, the acreage would increase slightly. And so the total pot of money would increase slightly as well.
Thank you, Chief. Please continue.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it back to Brian. I think people are probably sick of my voice.
I just want to highlight a few economic impacts from 2022 visitation in particular, and this is National Park Service data. We had 43,231 visitors to Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument in 2022, who spent $3.1 million in communities near the park.
Sorry. Yes, okay, I'm here.
I don't know if
that's-
he's trying to get your attention or if he's just stretching.
Counselor Higgins, are you got your hand up to ask a question or are you just stretching? Okay, thank you.
I think he's just chilling.
Just stretching. I was trying to block the sun.
So that spending by visitors of over $3 million supported 41 jobs in the local area and had a cumulative benefit to the local economy of $4 million. Businesses on the ground know visitors are spending money in gateway communities, and that is likely part of why we have heard from over 30 local businesses in Millinocket who support the Access Act. Some other specific examples include spending locally with Millinocket contractors on the development of the Gagabima Contact Station, our new flagship visitor facility in the monument. That spending has occurred between 2019 and 2024, and locally, we see over $5 million in spending with Millinocket contractors on that project. And Betsy as well already highlighted a bit of the good road work that does happen in the monument. And to date, they've replaced over 18 bridges and culverts, improving roads that are well traveled by visitors as well as locals and timber companies and beyond. And of that spending, 1.3 million has been with Katahdin region contractors. So this is not projecting out into the future. This is what has happened. So I think what we're hearing from and the business community in particular and from citizens alike is that excitement about what could come in the future for Millinocket to have more of a direct connection to what is happening.
With the economic part of it, if you don't mind, Jeff Campbell, our airport manager. Jeff, could I ask you to, is there any, how is the financial impact? I know we're talking about tourism coming in and people saying the roads haven't been used all that much. There hasn't been that much traffic coming in. What have you seen at the airport? I know you've shared this with me and I'd like to just go ahead and get it on.
I think you just turned it off. Oh, really?
Jeff Campbell, Airport Manager.
There we go.
As far as the airport's concerned, even when this was in its infancy and there was just a thought that they were gonna do this, some of the largest airplanes I've had over there, the jets that I've had over there, have been for this effort. There was some folks from California that came over here that were part of this project, getting the funding going, and I'm sure it was involved in the friends and everything as it got started. The National Monument was 2,500 gallons in one airplane. And that was more than my truck would hold. So I actually had to pump the truck completely out, go fill the truck back up, and then finish filling the airplane before it could leave. And that's before we rebuilt the parking apron over there. So up to this time, up to the eclipse, the most jets I've had at any one time was for the monument. I've had 3 jets at once. And those were all meetings that happened at New England Outdoor Center and so forth, as far as I know. So yes, our infrastructure, our airport runways and all of that stuff is geared towards this type of traffic moving forward. I have friends, personal friends from Wiscasset that have flown up here with their airplane, rented a vehicle and gone into the monument and stayed. So I know it's affecting the airport, which in turn is revenue for the town, as I sell jet fuel and have gas to support this effort. So yeah, I've definitely seen an increase in traffic because of that, to the tune of several thousand gallons of jet fuel.
Thank you. Please.
Great. We talk about the economics, but I would be remiss not to just point to some of the intangible benefits of having this National Park Service unit as a neighbor to Millinocket. The benefits of the National Monument extend beyond the local economy and into our intentional and focused community work through the Katahdin Learning Project. The Katahdin Learning Project is a place-based learning program run by Friends of Katahdin Woods and Waters that offers a variety of programs to nurture connections between learners and land in the monument as well as in surrounding communities. Our programs include school lessons, community activities, overnight ventures, service learning projects in the community, and professional development as we seek to encourage the next generation of leaders to stay invested in their home communities and appreciate the outdoors that they have in their backyard. During the 7 years since the monument was created, Friends has on average provided 20 hours of free programming per year for students in the Millinocket School District, and have documented 1,467 student experiences during that time. And again, those numbers are just specific to Millinocket. And I highlight that because for a lot of reasons. One, I'm proud of this work, and I think there's a whole ecosystem here of building up the outdoor economy, building the future for our surrounding communities. And yes, there's the economic piece that we all benefit from, but I think any connection that we're feeling to the lands around us is only deepens the prospects for the future. So I share that in gratitude to our educators who lead the Katahdin Learning Project and have partnered with it, as it's very forward-looking, the work they're doing. So I think we're circling back to the end of the presentation. Yeah,
Okay.
the primary goals are back on screen and we can take any further questions at this point.
Is there any further questions from the council? Council Demay?
Oh, you.
Oh, she leave Council McGlone.
Best.
I don't have as much to say as. I do, but anyway. I just have a question. Cause I read through, this was very helpful. Thank you, that packet. And when it talks about, will the Access Act prohibit snowmobile? No. And then it has the following provision: hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation on acquired land. The secretary shall allow hunting, fishing, or any other outdoor recreation activity on land acquired. One, if that activity was in existence on the day before the date of acquisition of the land. And two, consistent with the management of that activity under the proclamation. So I understand what that says. And this may be a dumb question too, but I mean, is there any sort of a chance that could ever be changed? Well, could a future Congress change that, or someone decide that, we don't want them to hunt and fish on that land anymore? Because that is a very important to a lot of people in this community. So I don't know if you can answer that. I'm just throwing that out there.
In the spotlight right now, I'm remiss to misspeak. My understanding, the proclamation and as these lands were deeded, those traditional uses are on the east side, the parcels on the east side of the East Branch of the Penobscot River. If you're looking at a map of Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument, you can see that it's bifurcated by the East Branch of the Penobscot River, and the management practices preserve those traditional uses on the east side parcels. And that is what this is protecting here, as well as protecting those traditional uses in line with what is being managed right now.
Okay. And with respect to this act, it only applies, that language applies to anything on this map. And so that includes about 1,000 acres of those two northern pieces, and then the roadways themselves. I think of primary importance to many community members and also to Trust for Public Land is the snowmobile access in the region. So currently, as many people know, the snowmobile access is through annual permits that landowners provide. That would likely continue if this act is passed. And actually there would be sort of firmer rights because of this language. So one of the only places where there is legal snowmobile guaranteed, not annual access, is actually in the monument. And so long way of saying that the status quo will remain, if not improve. My expectation is that that will occur with respect to snowmobile use. And the last piece too is, I know there's probably questions none of us can answer right now around like 20 years, what roads get plowed and which ones don't. But my understanding from clubs too is that, if there's ever a point where decisions are made for Stacyville Road to be plowed in the winter, that the snowmobile route would find, the ITS routes would find a way around a different way to connect, which is what currently occurs when there's plowing due to timber harvesting.
Mr. Chair.
Councilor Higgins.
Yep, I just wanted to ask on the corridors. You got some that are 200 foot, some that are 500. So that's either side of each center line.
Yes.
What was the determination on that?
That's a great question. And it felt like we had a good reason at the time. So no, I'll be a bit more explicit there. So the 500-foot corridors are the roads that are owned by Trust for Public Land. The 200-foot corridors are roads that are owned by Acadian Timber. At the time when Trust for Public Land and Acadian Timber were sending landowner opt-in letters to be included in this legislation, that was the corridor width that each landowner chose. So Acadian Timber chose 200, Trust for Public Land chose 500. For anyone that's ever had had a right of way. They're normally about 66 feet. So we went a bit bigger, just from the perspective of ensuring that the area where there's authority to acquire a property interest gives us a bit of a buffer, but the property interest that is actually acquired by the Park Service may not be that full 500 feet. They may choose to do something smaller.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yep.
Anything else, Council Higgins? Okay, Council DeMay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to address the letter from December 12th, 2022 that you referenced earlier in the beginning. And the order 309-2022, that was the order that was passed for the letter of support legislation 4784 that was taken here in Millinocket. And I think this is the importance of, just like state and federal congresses and things, that things shouldn't roll over to the next council or the next Congress, because we have new counselors with new thoughts, ideas, and opinions. I wish this had taken place before. I think that was dropped, and I think a lot of this could have been resolved prior. So it was a 5-1 vote with former Councilor Bragdon, the only dissenting vote, myself as chairman.
5-6-1.
No, Councilor Gottlieb was absent.
That's right.
You voted, I voted, Councilor Higgins voted, and Councilor Danforth voted, Councilor Pelletier voted in favor at that time. And then this last one came up, new council, new information, new public to serve that reached out. So with that, I think that with all the things that's been addressed, I want to thank you guys for coming. I just wanted to clarify why those, wasn't that the council's flip-flop or change. It's just new information, new council, should have been a new conversation. I know those things get lost in the big world, but in the small world of Millinocket, that's how we should do business. I'd like to thank the business community and the residents that came out at large, and all of those that have reached out to us. I don't want to speak for everybody, but the hundreds of emails and dozens of phone calls and everybody that's stopped in to visit or chat or express yourselves. Some have wanted to do it privately. Some have personal reservations towards any kind of federal government intrusion on land, whether it's public or private. There's just a healthy distrust of the government itself. No insult to anybody in specifics, but it's just the way the mop flops, depending on any administration, Republican or Democrat. So the emails can stop. So
We've done this.
we've heard the cry of the business community loud and clear. It's understood. That's one leg of the stool, as I've explained it. And I believe that we all acknowledge that tourism should be a piece of the puzzle, as well as industry and residential and commercial. So we want to make sure our bases are covered. I think that this is a long-term play, 10, 15, 20 years. We're not going to see anything, big expectations, whether if it passes or if it doesn't, for the next 5 years. I've talked to several businesses that are worried about speaking out publicly. So I commend all of you that have shown up here tonight, whether you're for or against, because your businesses and your livelihoods could be at stake, and it's unfortunate. And I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that, because I've even heard rumors of boycotts of people's businesses, and we know what that can do to a small community business. We've seen it recently. We've seen it in our recent past when businesses get boycotted in this town. Now, if you make a personal decision not to visit an establishment, that's your own personal business. But to certainly boycott a business because of their desire. Because in my opinion, I've seen three different types of people right now on this situation. I've seen the people that fervently advocate for it, the people that acknowledge it, much like you have stated, that acknowledge that it's here. I was formally against it, but let's make the best of it. I've heard it from those people too. And then there's people that have dug in their heels that certainly don't want any part of it. And respectfully, I thank you all for reaching out, especially those that reached out respectfully to us. There's been some really nasty letters, and then there's been some really respectful letters, even if they're disagreeable at times. And I really appreciate that, because that's all information. It's all information that I use as a tool, as a counselor. And so, sorry for being long-winded on that. I know you didn't need to sit through that. That was more for our public that came here tonight. And, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any closing thoughts?
No, I was kind of want to say the same thing that Counselor Dume said. We were inundated with emails, messages, phone calls. And I appreciate hearing public. That's what I'm here to do, to listen to people. So I read every email. I tried my best to respond. At the end of it, I was like, I'm getting tired of
You
this.
can't keep up.
Yeah, you can't keep up, but I did read it, I did consider it. I am a person who is open-minded, who will listen. I'm never like, this is the way it is, and I'm not gonna change my mind. That's not who I am. So I am thankful for those people as well who were respectful and not the ones who chose to call me stupid and petty and a list of other names without even knowing who I am. So as he said, we hear you. I thank you. I thank you for this presentation. I too wish we would have seen it 2 months ago, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Counselor Higgins, do you have any final thoughts?
No, sir, thank you.
All right. Counselor Pelletier? I would just like to say that as someone who, and many of you in this crowd watched me during the course of the time that the monument was first proposed, I fought like a son of a gun against it. I did not want it. I thought it was for all the wrong reasons. And despite the fight that was put up, the monument is here. And it's not going anywhere. And nothing is going to change that. Nobody's going to call, there's no backseas on this one where they go ahead and change their mind at the end and say, no, we decided we're not going to have a monument here. So I've had to adjust my thinking. And I now believe that what you do is you use the tools that have been offered you. And the monument can be a tool for economic development, along with our efforts to draw in industry and certainly to support our business community. Because to be honest with you, as the economy has gone, I really don't know how some of you managed to stay open. And if 20 cars come through, that's 20 more than we had. And those people may stop and get gas, and they may get food, and they may get lodging. And they may decide to make a weekend of it, go to Baxter and to the monument. It's a small victories that hopefully we're going to make this work. And I don't want to go ahead and, like I say, we're a small community. We're all friends and neighbors. And like my fellow counselors, I was amazed at the outpouring of support, of condemnation, and the few people who tried to make a case that my parents weren't married when I was born because of the names that they were calling me. And I don't try desperately not to take it personally. But however this plays out, please know that, like Councilor McLaughlin and Councilor Dume have said, you've been heard, each and every one of you. And we will see where the chips fall moving forward. But I would like to thank you both today for the presentation. I would like to thank the chief, Jeff, the manager, for their contributions in this conversation. And if you will manage to stick around, we have a very, very short slate on purpose to allow for the 2-minute comment, public comment. So with that being said, I will take this opportunity now to close this council workshop. And now,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
can we
sir,
take a 10-minute recess?
absolutely. Do we have this agreeable to everybody? 10 minutes? 5 is good. How about 5? Can you make it?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
5-minute recess. Thank you.
No, it's open. It's pickleball court.
Oh, I gotta. I have to go to the bathroom, so it's kind of like.
Good word.
Yeah. I'm glad we get it.
Oh, wrong chair. He's got me all confused today because he moved me into a different spot. Chill in here. Oh my goodness. I gotta stretch. I heard the wedding pictures are in already. I heard the wedding pictures are in already. Alicia said, awesome. No, she just, I haven't seen them because my dad's been home. So I've been a little preoccupied. I got him up to the airport today, so I'm gonna go over and look at them this weekend. No, she just told me that they were in and to come over and look at them.
I mean, I love the recent.
Oh,
I never, and I was, you know, I was hoping that they'd be able to.
they must have, because well, she didn't really say anything specific about them, just that they got them. And you wanted me to come over and look at them with her, so I was like, yeah, me too. I'll let you know.
I was pleased, I showed, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was approving.
Yes. Yeah.
And then that, you know, I worked pretty hard on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I haven't posted anything. I've been kind of waiting for her. She let her do it first, you know. It's their weddings. So it's a lot to learn, but I must like it somewhat because I'm gonna run again, so either that or I'm stupid. I did not. I did not get in trouble. No. No, thank you for taking us. I appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, I'll listen to anybody. Absolutely. It's what I'm elected for.
I just wanted to know something.
Yeah.
This was one of those.
Yeah.
When you got on.
Yeah.
That is.
Right, right.
You have a light way. But the Smith Brook Road, that's just not.
Yeah, yeah.
They started today. Mr. Reed's here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're there.
Is Jimmy Lee? Is that Jimmy Lee? I didn't even recognize him. I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah. I will, on the way.
I'd like to. I got a manager in the hallway. I don't know what happened, Jesse.
Oh, he's down there.
I didn't.
All right.
It was Jimmy Lee. I haven't seen him in like 30 years.
Counselor Dume, please report to the dais. It's time to stop shaking hands and kissing babies. Where's the baby? Where's the baby?
See how far and how fast it can go downhill. All right. Let me know when you're ready to start recording.
Oh, no, I didn't stop it.
Okay. I'd like to call this regular town council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Counselor Danforth,
Excused.
Counselor Dume,
Yeah.
Counselor Higgins,
Present via Zoom.
Counselor Mackin,
Excused.
Chair Madore,
Here.
Counselor McGlaughlin,
Here.
Counselor Pelletier.
Would you please all stand and remove your hats and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda, Mr. Manager?
Just one, Mr. Chairman, there was a confusion on the presentation date with, the Penquist Housing Development that has been changed to its original date of August 22nd.
Okay, thank you. Seeking approval of the minutes for the July 11th, 2024 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Council DeMay, second by Council McGlaughlin. Any council discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Oh, we got to do this side. Council Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Council DeMay,
Aye.
Council McGlaughlin,
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Chair Madore, aye. It's unanimous. All right, now moving on to seeing no managers report. Councilor DeMay, will you please read order 177 2024?
Going over
Would not
John
be special
Newman, ATV.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Chooch. I'm terribly, not that I want to get this meeting over with or anything, but certainly, we've got a special presentation by John Raymond, the ATV in-town trail update. I thought you were just here for the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Was on.
Hello.
One more click.
Hello, there we go. My name is John Raymond, 236 Highland Avenue, Millinocket, Maine, president of the Northern Timber Cruisers. I'm here tonight to pass out some information.
Thank you, John.
And what we're doing is we've had several meetings with the local area clubs. This past week, I met with the administrative assistant at East Mill, and Monday night I met with the Medway Town Selectmen Board. And what we're trying to do is address some of the issues on the access routes around the community. And what we've done is we've come up with a set of rules here. We looked around different communities and different places and found out what would be acceptable to have, because we have one police unit that's doing the whole three communities.
Mhm.
We want to have them all on the same page for rules, so that one community is not doing something different than the other, and everybody's in agreement with that. The other is, the only thing that will be different is each community has a different set of access streets. So that would be defined in this. We're gonna redo this, this agreement right here. And the Medway Selectmen were in support of it, the East Millinocket. I didn't go to the selectmen meeting. We went to, it was an administrative meeting with Cameron, Glidden, the game warden, some selectmen, and myself. And we were all in agreement that these rules basically cover all the issues that we've been having. And because this access route's been open since 2012. And it's at the point where, you know, we've been getting some complaints about it. And I know you guys are probably hearing stuff and everything. And it's something to address everything that we're basically hearing. And we also know that the bridge is being constructed right now and is almost completed within probably a few weeks. And once this new connection opens up, there's gonna be an influx of more traffic coming through this area. So that's why we want to get on top of it. And the Medway Selectmen thought that we should probably, or we talked about it, but they figured it should be done in the form of a possible ordinance. So that way it would give a little bit of bite for the officers to enforce. So I'm passing this out today for you guys to look it over, see if there's things you want to change. And then there's also the streets that are designated have been working since we changed that. The first year we did, let's see, 2012, we opened it. We had a smaller access route, 13, and then I think it was 14 or 15 that we opened it up a little further. And the whole purpose of this access route is to give people coming from the trail be able to come into town, get places to eat, fuel, and lodging. The other use of it is not to be used as a car. You know, some people use it as a car.
Yes.
Some people are driving that had OUI, and some of it is underage. It defines it out here. You got 10 to 16, you have to be accompanied by an adult. You have to have had the state certified safety course, and you've got to have it on you. So there's no excuses for it. So what we're looking to do is get this redefined and then come out with it and do a zero tolerance. We've been going through this for years, passing out warning, and nothing's going on. And we're at this point that if we don't nip it in the bud now, we're gonna regret it down the road. So, you know, it's all about excessive noise, dusk to dawn. I've seen a lot of four-wheelers out at dark at night. I mean, 11, 12 o'clock at night. It's like, and that's something what the police would use discretion. If somebody's coming on the trail, they thought it was gonna take them 5 or 6 hours to get here, but it took them 6.5, 7, and they're coming in a little dark to get to the hotel. Well, that's where they use the discretion.
Right.
But if it's just people ripping around town, then we wanna get this taken care of. So I know, like I said, I know you guys are probably hearing it, and I know I've gotten a lot of calls and a lot of emails and a lot of texts and what's going on and stuff. So I'm not a cop, I'm not a police officer. I've talked to some of them and tried to make them understand that what we have here is a good thing, and we don't want to screw it up. And we're right at the point where this is going to blossom into something with this new trail that's coming through here. And, you know, we want to be all on the same page. So the reason I brought this to you tonight is to get your input on it, let you look at it. We'll come back, and then most likely if you're going to do it in the form of an ordinance, you're probably going to have the town lawyer look at it or something like that. But that's why, you know, I'm here tonight. So if there are any questions or any comments.
Councilor Dumeay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna keep it real brief, John. Thank you for addressing these issues. I myself personally have witnessed some of this stuff. I mean, passing my vehicle, going the speed limit, them guys are flying right by. It's people, I don't think the majority of it, the problem people are people from out of town. It's the locals that are abusing it. It's the people that you know don't have a license. It's the people that you can see the beer can in their hand as they're going by you at 45 miles an hour, ripping down Katahdin Avenue or down Penobscot. We don't have to hear about it. We see about it. It's not a big town. So I agree with everything that you just said, and I hope that they're able to enforce some of these things. Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. Chooch, has anybody thought about, because I know we have tried to go ahead in the past in Millinocket and have ordinance on the books. And the police department has told us on more than one occasion that enforcing these ordinances doesn't work because the district attorney won't prosecute. It won't prosecute on an ordinance. They'll prosecute on a law, but not on an ordinance. How can we make this effective so that if somebody is caught with alcohol, driving underage, excessive speed, things like that, we can get these people to court, because that's the only way they're going to learn. You can summons them all you want, but until something actually happens, and it's only gonna have to take a few with the word to get out, they'll realize. So have you talked to Chris Almay or?
I haven't, and that's something that, ATV Maine was to talk to the state attorney general, because that is an issue. We had a meeting early this spring, and, one of the game wardens that was there doing a presentation said that this past winter, he was over in Greenville during the snowmobile season. He passed out 27, summons, and they threw out 25 of them. So that doesn't send a good word out there, and it makes it look like, well, don't worry about it. They're just gonna throw it out in court. So you can do whatever you want. Yeah, we gotta put more,
we're
bite
keeping-
in the law, and and you're right. People coming from out of town, they appreciate it. They understand it. And in town, they're using it as a way to get around, you know?
Mhm.
And that was never the intent. The intent was to it's called an access route. It's to access the trail. And, you know, I see them out early spring when the trail's not even open and they're riding around, and it's, you know, so hopefully, Officer Lakeman said that they want to do basically a refresher course with most of the police personnel, kind of bring them up to date, because a lot of them are a little iffy on what's available, what you can do and what you can't do, and Andy was in agreement that,
Good.
Game Warden Glidden. So, yeah, it's something that if we don't do it right, we're gonna lose a good thing here.
Right.
And that's why I'm here right now. And I hope that, you know, we can come to something that's mutually agreed through the three communities and make it easier for the police department. And like I said, some of it is, I mean, there's been talk, I know, Officer Glidden and Cameron, they were, you know, because we designated some of these streets in here. And we were always under the understanding that if it was an access route street, that you had 500 yards or 1,500 feet, that
Right.
you could access to your house or whatever. And we don't know if that's what they want to stick with, or just, some of them are like, well, could we just open up the town as an access to get to the trail? And then there was some discussion on that, and people didn't want to do that. So the way that I set this access route up between Bates Street, Bowden, Penobscot, Summer, Congress, Granite, Medway, Wausau, Sycamore, Baldwin Drive, Massachusetts Avenue, Forest Avenue, Cause Road, and Ash Street, you can pretty much get anywhere around town. So, you know, and if you're 5 driveways up off of Bowden Street, I don't think anybody give you a hard time to go down to Bowden Street, which is an access route.
Mhm.
But if you're down by the KSC Hall on Highland Avenue and you're riding all the way down Highland, that might be an issue. So that's the fine points that we get to talk about, what they're gonna allow and not allow. So.
Very good. Anybody have anything else you want to add to this? Seeing none, so John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll be looking forward to the next installment of this and see where we go.
Just a little update, it's looking like we're probably gonna do the official opening on the trail and the bridge, during the Trails End Festival.
Good, excellent. All right then. Now we go to regular council business. Council DeMay, will you please read order 177-2024?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Order number 177-2024, providing for execution of the prior year town warrant for August 8th, 2024. It is ordered that the prior year town warrant, August 8th, 2024, the amount of $608.46 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Council Dume, second by Council McGlaughlin. Any council discussion? Down to the public. Back to the council. Council Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Dume,
Aye.
Council McGlaughlin,
Aye.
Chair Madore, aye, it's unanimous. Order 178 twenty twenty-four, providing for execution of the prior year wastewater warrant for August 8th, 2024. It is ordered the prior year wastewater warrant for August 8th, 2024, in the amount of $9,601.69 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Council, Chairman Madore, second by Council Dume. We got a couple of hitters on this one. There is $4,822.13. That is Oliver and Associates. That has to do with the pump station upgrade. And of course, $4,528.22 to Versant Power for electric. Any council discussion on the order? Down the public. Back to the council. Council Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Dume,
Aye.
Council McGlaughlin.
Aye.
Chair Madore, aye, it's unanimous. Council Dume, can I please get you to read order 179 twenty
Yes,
twenty-four?
Mr. Chairman, order number 179 twenty twenty-four, providing for the execution of town warrant for August 8th, 2024. It is ordered that the town warrant for August 8th, 2024, in the amount of $177,350.74 is hereby approved.
Second.
Council, motion made by Council Dume, second by Council McGlaughlin. Any council discussion on the order? Any big hitters?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. $15,593.39. That's for airport fuel. That's for sale. $7,623.86 for public works, gas and oil. $30,458.18 for airport grant, Oil Tanner and Associates. $11,593.43 for transfer site fill cost. $18,049.69 for municipal building elevators. $78,290, and that's for the municipal building windows from Renewal by Anderson.
Thank you. Any council discussion on the order? Down to the public. Back to the council. Council Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Dume,
Aye.
Council McGlaughlin,
Aye.
Chair Madore, aye, it's unanimous. Council McGlaughlin, can I please get you to read order one? No, I'm sorry, I'll take care of this one. Order 180 twenty twenty-four, providing for execution of the wastewater warrant for August 8th, 2024. It is ordered the wastewater warrant for August 8th, 2024, in the amount of $1,165.91 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Chair Madore, second by Councilor Dume. There are no big hitters on this one, so is there any council discussion on the order? Down to the public? Back to the council. Councilor Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Dume,
Aye.
Council McGlaughlin.
Aye.
Chair Madore, aye, it's unanimous. Now, Council McGlaughlin, can I please have you read order 181 twenty twenty-four?
Yes. Order number 181 twenty twenty-four, providing for revisions to the town of Millinocket procurement policy. Whereas order number 170 twenty twenty-three provided for the adoption of the town of Millinocket procurement policy, and whereas the need for revisions to this policy has been identified, it is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves the attached revisions to the town of Millinocket procurement policy.
Second.
Motion made
Second.
by McGlaughlin, second by Councilor Dume. Councilor discussion. Mr. Manager, could you kind of address, I know we've gone through this and looked at it as individual councilors, but where the big piece is to change this?
So none of the important content actually was changed or updated. When it was originally presented about a year ago, it was just a little rough around the edges. It was pieced together from borrowed policies that I had researched from other towns. The process was a little rushed, and it's been in my it's been on my to-do list for a very long time. So this time of year with a lot of people on vacation and not a whole lot going on. I was finally able to get around. Like I said, none of the actual legal matters or procedures that are identified in the document have changed, but some of the, select board versus council verbiage, that sort of thing is cleaned up and made proper.
Thank you. Any other council discussion on the order? Down to the public. Back to the council. Council Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Council Pelletier.
Aye.
Council Dume.
Aye.
Council McGowan.
Aye.
Chair Madore, aye. It's unanimous. Reports and communications. The warrant committee for the August 22nd, 2024 council meeting will be Councilor Higgins and Councilor Mackin. Councilor Higgins, you all set for that?
I might be up in Jackman again.
Give me a holler if you do. I'll fill in for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Chair committee reports. Councilor Danforth isn't here, so Councilor Pelletier, the stage is all yours.
The Charter Review Committee will be having a meeting on Monday, 5:30 in the town manager's office and by Zoom.
Very good. All right, now we get to the part that I imagine everybody's been waiting for. This is a 2-minute public comment. You have 2 minutes to come up and address the council. Please address the council as a whole and not individual councilors, and try to be as civil as possible. And with that, and please, when you do come up, please come up and address name and address when you do address the council. That has to be for the record. So I saw you, you might as well be, you might as well be first. I'm sorry, just 1 second. What now? Oh, yes, you have 2 minutes, so there will be a time, because of obviously the amount of people that are here, we didn't know how many people would be addressing, so there will actually be a 2-minute timer. So it's in the little corner there, so when you're ready.
I'm Steve Lane, 56 New York Street, Millinocket, taxpayer Millinocket. Good presentation tonight here by Trustford Land. I learned a little bit, hoping to learn a little bit more. I am one of 7 camp owners on Township 2 Lane Gate on the northern end of Millinocket Lake. I've used Stacyville Road for over 50 years to access this area, so that I could access my camp. Questions that I have through the council, if I so may, to representatives of the Trust for Public Land is, are those camp owners going to be able to use the Stacyville Road to access their camps over in that area?
I will let that, Emily.
Absolutely. So all of your existing access rights and your current status quo and your ability to that road access.
I have no agreements. We have no agreements with Acadian Timber or anybody else to use those roads. So are you saying that you'll still honor our access to the northern end of Millinocket Lake?
So thank you for clarifying that. The Access Act would create public access.
Yes, this is what.
So people.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It's good? Okay, great. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name at the, Stephen, nice to meet you, Stephen. So people with existing agreements, those will stay in place. People who don't have existing agreements, I would lay out that the access is going to improve for you, because if the Access Act passes and the Park Service holds a property interest on those roads, that will guarantee public access for everybody, including camp owners. And so you'll go from a situation where you currently don't have guaranteed legal access to one where you do.
May I ask a question? When the Land for Public Trust conveys that land, according to their plan, will there still be an access agreement with the new property owners in place to access the northern end of that lake?
So Stacyville Road, you're talking about Stacyville Road, right? Okay, so that's currently owned by Acadian Timber. Any existing agreements will stay in place. If Acadian Timber sells a property interest to the Park Service, there will be guaranteed public access for everybody. So you and everybody else will be able to use that road. Does that answer your question?
So the northern part that Trust for Public.
The
Land owns.
northern part of Stacyville Road.
So that is to be conveyed once you pay your loan off, that is be conveyed to another owner.
So those roads, the goal is still to convey the roads to the Park Service or a right of way on those roads to the Park Service. So that's all what I said still holds on that northern section of Stacyville, that there would be guaranteed public access.
It would be guaranteed public access with the new owner.
The owner of those roads, yeah, so what you're referring to here is either the road's gonna be owned by the Park Service or the Park Service will have a right of way on another ownership. And either scenario, there will be guaranteed public access through that Park Service property interest.
Bear with me, I'm trying to understand. Thank you.
And I'm happy to talk after.
Just to let you know, we did stop the clock.
So the national park, so the national. So,
Yes, only during the answers.
so will the National Park Service own that northern section of the Stacyville Road, even though it's conveyed to a new owner?
So that northern section of Stacyville Road, this hasn't been decided yet. The Park Service will either own the road or they will hold a right of way on that road over private ownership. And in either scenario, whether it's a right of way or outright ownership, there will be guaranteed public access. So you and others will have legal rights to use that road.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your.
Okay, and I'm happy to dig into more details after. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. Okay, I'll get to Matt in just a second.
I'm James Lee. I live in Medway, 316 Patagonia Road. I've been working with the park up there, public for 8 years. Very good people to work for, but all I've done is see it grow. That's all it's done is grow. It's not gone backwards any. But someone said earlier, there's 35,000 people more coming to that park. I don't know if anybody's noticed it or not, but a lot of businesses in this area, Medway, East Milwaukee, can use a few of those cars to stop in. That's why I think we need anything that wants to come here and spend money. I don't care what it is. And if they're willing to come here, go through this park, go through the other park, hey, they're leaving some money one way or the other. And a lot of these businesses can really use it. I enjoy it. Yes, I make money off of it. Yes, I do. But other people could use it too.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, I'm getting you, Matt. I promise.
Again, John Raymond, 236 Highland Avenue. I was kind of on the fence on this early, but I found out over the years that you're better off to be sitting down the table and working with these people because, like you said, Councilor Chairman Madore, that it's here to stay, and if we don't work with them, then we're going to get left out. And, you know, there's talk about the roads. I think we're pretty good about that. And if the roads get all beat up, that means we're getting a lot of people coming through here. And now we have a new tire plant that Jimmy can, you know, handle that. So I think we worry about a lot of stuff that sometimes don't have to be thought about. And if this is going to be something, I found out from working with the Trust for Public Lands on this trail that without them working with us, we would have been paunched. So I truly think that the council should send a letter of agreeing with this and with a few bullet points on it or concerns. So thank you.
Thank you. Council, gonna give you a promotion. Mr. Bragdon.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Matt Bragdon, 92 Lincoln Street. First, I want to say that I was opposed to this project. And as Chooch just said, the more I hear about it, the more I'm on board. It's likely to happen. However, I do have a major concern. I've used 2 different GPS apps, and I've just sent evidence to one of the town councilors that right now, if you were to type in directions to Katahdin Woods and Water Monument, it will take you through the entrance on the Huber Road from the Dobie and not on the Stacyville. So what exactly is stopping somebody from taking that route and completely avoiding Millinocket versus actually driving through Millinocket, past the main street, downtown corridor, and going up the Stacyville Road?
Certainly. If you would address that.
Do you want to invite them just to sit where they left?
Yeah. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Really excellent question. So right now, people are using that Dolby lot entrance informally. It's not an official entrance. It's not a legal entrance. And so by passing this Access Act and having the Stacyville be the legal formal entrance, that will actually solidify, hopefully on GPS apps, but especially with signage and with other communication mechanisms, it will solidify the Stacyville Road as the entrance, which will actually bring people through Millinocket. So I think in some ways, this is the pathway to change that informal use and solidify the entrance point that would bring people through town. That answer your question?
Did that answer your question?
It
Matt?
did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes. Name and address, please.
Barbara Bollier, 17 Kelly Lane, Millinocket.
Okay.
I am also a camp owner and landowner, and I use the Stacyville Road almost every day. And I am fully on board for this monument access. And the reason is there are, I think, don't quote me on the number, but I think there's 33 of us that pay money to have this road graded and worked on every year. And we also pay the insurance on that road too. And that comes out of our small coffers that we have that we pay every year. To have another entity help us pay to maintain this road would be wonderful. It only gets graded a couple of times a year. And what the landowner has said to us, we'll only fix things that if we ruin it, dig it up if we're pulling out equipment. We have physically come to the road and fixed a washout from a beaver dam with our own dirt and shovels and manpower. So we've been doing that kind of work for a while. And it would be great to have another entity that not only guarantees us access on this road for the future, but also helps us maintain it, because we're a small group and we can only afford so much. But another thing that I've not heard mentioned is in the future, if I choose to sell my camp and land, I now can say that there is a guaranteed access road to this camp that I can't say today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please, in the back.
John Sear, 5 Alpine Drive, taxpayer. I don't like politics, so I haven't gotten involved in a lot of this. And I haven't voiced my opinion for anything of this. I'm all for economic development. I work away, as a lot of people do around town. I have 2 camp leases up to Millinocket Lake, T2R8, backside of Millinocket Lake. And I'm concerned about our access. That's our biggest concern. They're both remote camps. I guess one of my other questions, as Steve had said, we're representing 7 camp owners in the backside of the lake there that they're all from away also. I guess my biggest question, besides the access, will there be gates going up at the springtime for mud season?
You good?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I don't think the current approach would change with respect to gates. And definitely if there's guaranteed public access, it would probably, like right now, as you know, Acadian Timber as the landowner of Stacyville could put up a gate if they wanted. But if there's guaranteed public access through the Park Service holding property interests, that possibility would likely go away. So I think the risk of a gate going up decreases in this situation. Yeah. And I'm also realizing I might be getting myself a little bit mixed up with the parts of Stacyville Road that we're talking about. So I'm happy to look at a map with you all after.
Same access road that we go up, we take a left off of that road.
Okay.
Another 10 miles down the road.
Okay. Yeah, and the portion of Stacyville, north of Huber Road, that wouldn't be impacted by this Access Act and that's owned by Acadian Timber still.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Scott Levitt, 330 Congress Street. I'm not opposed to this or anything, but I know everybody's concerned about the woods and everything else and the trails coming in and the businesses in this town. But what this also does, it opens up an access where as a parent, I'm concerned because it opens up another access to drugs being brought into the town and going out of town. Either way you go, you've got one traffic coming in and you got roads, but my worry is the drugs that people might access coming into the town and going out of town. So that's just my concern, because if we got 10,000 cars coming in, what is that anytime patrolled, those roads?
Would there be someone monitoring those roads?
So the National Park Service does have a law enforcement component, and we do have a law enforcement ranger now. You know, it's a lot of road. It's not
right.
It's a lot of road to cover for a small budding National Park Service unit staff to cover. So I don't think that this is a sort of hypothetical that we could make any guarantees on. But again, I think the big premise that we're trying to share tonight is that there isn't so much of a change in the day to day and what's currently happening. And if anything, there's an added partner for maintenance and an added partner to help ensure access. But in terms of what's being described now, I'm not sure that we have too much we can say about what to project out into the future.
Okay.
No, but I was just concerned that if there's more drugs coming into town, that ain't good for Millinocket. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Gail Forms, on 96 Oxford Street, and I'm also a business owner in town. And I do lodging. So I am for this, and I sent you all
Yes, you did.
nice emails.
Yes, you did.
I thank you for the responses that I did get. I appreciated that. Thank you. And I just think, you know, it's here. We might as well try to capture some of the traffic that's going to be coming through. And I do have people that come to my business looking for better access to get there instead of going all the way out to the interstate and going up, that have spent some time in the park and they would like to spend time at the National Monument as well. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? This gentleman, this gentleman and that one.
All right, everybody, I speak with a stutter. I'm not having a stroke. You EMT guys, okay?
Okay, name and.
Anyway, Austin Lawrence, 256 Penobscot Avenue, taxpayer and business owner. You know, my early business experiences were in the Bangor area. You know, I worked with my family business a long time. In the Bangor area, there's a saying amongst the business owners, and it's nothing positive happens north of Bangor. And I'm here to tell you we're on to something positive with this. Okay, this is, you know, this is something to stand behind. This is something positive happening up here. I had Airbnbs in downtown Millinocket. I got out of that because it rains here a lot, you know, but anyway. The point is, the Airbnbs, I used to talk to people. They would come to Acadia and like, I started calling it a horseshoe. They hit Acadia, they hit Baxter, they're trying to go over to the new park, and then they're also trying to go over to Greenville and see all that. And there's lots of good stuff happening in Greenville. And there's a lot of history in this town. And you know, I think it has everything it needs to be a nice little tourist trap in all the positive ways of a tourist trap. And, you know, why not? Why not? If nothing changes, nothing changes. And there's been a lot of things not changing here for a long time. So anyway, that's what I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt?
Matthew, excuse me, Matthew Polstein from the unorganized territory, but a taxpayer still in Millinocket. Happy to be one. I'm trying to get over my PTSD for being in this room. I think you all know it's my business and my life to encourage and support the benefits that the tourism industry brings to a region. We're an enabler. We can help with your industrial development. If we make this place a more livable place, more people from all walks of life will want to be here, and that's a good thing for the region. I'm also here to say, and my biggest reason for speaking tonight is that I recognize that progress and change comes with good and it comes with burdens. And the burden associated with services that this service center community provides to the unorganized territory, which will grow slowly over time with growth in the monument, is something that I recognize and I'm happy to work with you to help address. We deserve help congressionally. We deserve more help from the county. And as a resident taxpayer and investor and developer in the unorganized territory, I pledge to work with you to see that this town is treated fairly for the services that it provides those areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Brown, did you get that? Anyone else? This is your last chance. Yes.
Evan Danforth, 317 Massachusetts Avenue.
Let's get a picture of Aaron.
He's always taking pictures of everybody else.
Thanks, guys. Just a comment. I, amongst many others, work to help bring the monument here. At the time, we saw what in gateway towns in other areas were able to take advantage. Thank you. Take advantage of the opportunity that bringing the monument here gave us. In order to take advantage of the opportunity, we have to move into phase 2. It is here. It's not going away. If we don't start doing things to become a gateway town, we're going to lose that. Patton, Medway, they're all in good position to be. So I'm hoping that the council will start thinking about what do we need to do now that it's here? How can we maximize the benefit for Millinocket? How are we going to become a good, successful town? We didn't promise it back then because you can't promise something you didn't have. But we pointed out the potential that other communities in a similar situation were able to take advantage of we need to think about our infrastructure. How can we take advantage of this opportunity? That's what we need to be thinking about, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just,
And then do it right on 2 minutes. Yes. Oh, no, up here. Please. Not that I don't appreciate the thank you, but up here, please.
Anita Mueller, 58 Central Street, Millinocket. I want to thank you all for providing this opportunity. I know it probably wasn't an easy thing to do. And particularly you, Chairman Madore, because I'm sure you got a lot of flack from it. But you all went along and said, hey, you know, let's get some more information. I appreciate that. I appreciate the three of you for visiting the contact station. I think that's really important. But I want to thank the business community that stepped up, because that's really hard to do, as you said. And I believe now, Ms. Fanjoy could probably tell me, 42 Millinocket businesses were publicly saying they support this. You'll get an updated list. But that's huge. And that's just, I can't express how huge that is. But it speaks to how important this is. So I hope you'll work with us to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will get, one more thing I want to do before I close this meeting out. I would like to take this opportunity to announce that I will not be seeking re-election. After 5 terms and 15 years, after 5 terms and 15 years in public service, my family, my wife and my children, my grandchildren have all decided for me that they want to have me home. And to tell you the truth, it's time to bring in the next generation of counselors who, along with people like these and Counselor Pelletier, Counselor Higgins, really will have the opportunity to shape the town and move it forward. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone that has supported me over the years. I have been blessed more than I can tell you. I am going to miss this, but I love my family just that little bit more than my community. And I'm now listening to their words that they've been trying to tell me for the last few years. So if you have an interest in running for the town council, other than Mr. Levitt, Mr. Bragdon, and Councilor McLaughlin, for one of the 2 seats that will be up, please throw your hat into the ring. The more people that run, the more opportunity that people have to have a choice, the better I think everything goes. And like I say, thank you all for everything, for meetings like this, for the participation, for the people that I have met and enjoyed. Thank you all. And with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Oh, yes, please. We want to read this. Certainly, Councilor McGowan, thank you for reminding me.
sorry, Mike.
No, by all means.
We all received an email from someone and they asked that it would be read during the next public comment session. We forgot to print it, so I'm just going to read it from my email. It says, Dear Town Councilors, my name is Ross Knowlton. I was born and raised here and have lived in Millinocket for almost all of my life. I've had a deep connection to the area from a young age, spending countless days hunting, fishing, and exploring the area with my family. In my teens, I discovered photography, and it's been my passion ever since. I love capturing the natural beauty of this area and sharing my photos to help people appreciate what we have here. Anyway, the reason I'm writing to you today is the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument Access Act. I know the vote happened a while back, but I still feel compelled to share my thoughts and experiences as a young business owner from the area, an outdoor enthusiast, and someone who has worked closely with the Friends of Katahdin Woods and Waters and ask you to reconsider. For years, I've worked hard to try to make my photography business viable here. I get outside and take photos almost every day, and I sell my photos online and at several local businesses like the Appalachian Trail Cafe, but it's been hard. Last year, I learned of an opportunity to apply for a photography contract with Friends of Katahdin Woods and Waters. I got the job and have worked with them over the past year to document the monument, its natural beauty, wildlife, and special places. This has meant that over the past year, I've probably visited the monument over 15 times and have gotten to know it well. It's also been a great experience working with Friends of Katahdin Woods and Waters. They've treated me with respect, compensated me fairly, and I've grown to admire the work they are doing on the ground in our region to educate kids, connect them to where they live, and give them a reason to stay. This matters. I'm one of the only people in my high school class who still lives here, and I really wish that wasn't the case. But we have to give young people a reason to stay by opening our community up to opportunities like this. Even though I've lived here for 30 years, the first time I visited the monument for my contract, I didn't know how to get there from Millinocket. There's almost no signage, and official maps do not show how to access it from the south. I have a low clearance vehicle and had to turn around on the Stacyville Road and go all the way back up to the Roberts Road. Now that I know how to do it, I go there all the time, but I'm certain that this experience would dissuade other people, both locals and visitors, to the area. Many people who do not support the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument Access Act have said that it hasn't brought in many visitors. But starting a national monument from scratch takes time, and I worry that we haven't even come close to giving the monument the chance to succeed or reach its potential. Please support young people like me who are trying to make a living here by showing your support for this important piece of legislation. Sincerely, Ross Knowlton, 346 Penobscot Avenue.
And Councilor Demay, you also.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Received this letter from Mrs. Ellen Bozeman and her husband Jim for this meeting at the back. Letter that she handed me. She'd like me to read this at public comment. To Millinocket Town Councilors, Jesse Dunay, Bob Higgins, Tammy McLaughlin, and Gail Mackin. We are on the threshold of making positive changes that affect Millinocket's future. Voting for Katahdin Woods and Waters Access Act is vital for the wellspring of tourism it will bring to Millinocket. As former business owners in Millinocket, we know firsthand how important it is to have customers, and increased tourism to the area can provide more of those customers. Let's share our beautiful town with those who come to visit Baxter State Park, and Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument. We would encourage council to reconsider their vote. With that, I actually want to make a point of clarification. for the
Certainly.
public. We cannot reconsider our vote. Okay, on a prior order. The time lapse has passed for that. So if that were to ever happen again, it would need to be a new letter presented, different letter, a different order. It's the way it has to work. In a different order and voted on anew.
Love goes down. I don't know why, but you love it goes down.
Please, please, please.
It's the
Please.
process clause.
Please. It is the
It's the
legal
process.
term that legal process we have to do.
We can't vote on something old, we have to make it something new again. So if that were to happen, but what we want to avoid is another situation where we're unprepared. So that's why these workshops are happening, that's why these council sessions are happening. So I'm sure the council in the future will present this and we'll talk about it. And I'm sure we'll be speaking with the good folks of Trust Public Lands and the Friends of Katahdin Woods and Waters to see how, if we're even in the same book, let alone the same page. So those discussions will continue to happen. Pretty sure.
I'm pretty
Councilman
sure.
Chairman Madore will see to it that those things happen. So I just wanted to make everybody aware that nothing old can be brought back up. We would have to make it a new order.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor DeMay, second by Councilor McLaughlin. Councilor Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Council Pelletier,
Aye.
Council Dume,
Aye.
Council McGowan,
Aye.
Chair Madore, aye. We are adjourned.